Welcome back to r/entitled people, where people genuinely believe they're above others and they're the center of the universe. And in this episode, what's worse than Karens who feel extra entitled just because they're on vacation? They're demanding special treatment, harassing others, and one OP tells a wild story about always being made the babysitter while on vacation. It's quite the lineup today. So sit back, relax, and seriously try not to shake your heads too hard at the entitlement today. So to begin the story, I own a hot tub repair and maintenance company. And one of the services we offer is hot tub water refills. We truck in the water to fill the tub if the well at the house can't produce enough or if there is a requirement. One of the wells at a home I service went dry, so the property manager asked if I could fill their tank, to which I said, no problem. And by the way, the well still does produce water, just not as much as needed. At the time, my truck was in the shop, so I borrowed my parents' SUV. I hooked up my water trailer, filled up the tank, and then transported it to their house. I would have normally declined, but the property manager was desperate, and I'm the only company in town with water transport equipment. They're all good to go, and Karen and family is set to arrive that evening. Just a day and a half later, the house has run out. So the property manager calls me and asks if there's anything I could do. And for your information, the property manager offered a new house for them to stay at, but the entitled family didn't want a different house. So I took a small load of water over with my 1958 Jeep. I filled my small tank and trailer at my house and I brought over 275 gallons. This was a total pain in the butt. Once I arrived, the entitled grandmothers come out and they immediately start yelling at me, asking why I didn't bring 500 gallons and when am I gonna get them some more because apparently they had 18 people staying there and they all needed showers. And at this point, it's worth noting it's a pretty big mountain house. She then told me that they expect me to drive round the clock delivering water for their entire stay. And by the way, when I can't fill a tank at the bulk station and I can't use my full-size trailer, this is a total pain in the ass. It takes about 40 minutes to fill the tank at my house, 20 minutes to drive there, and 40 minutes to transfer. And the thing is, 18 people consume a lot of water. And for reference, if I had my truck and full-size trailer, the whole process would take only 30 minutes. This was all because they wanted to stay in this house to have their ideal vacation, and any other house or houses would simply not do. The entitled Karen then said it was my job to supply them with everything they needed for their vacation, otherwise she would make sure I got fired. She told me that she doesn't care what I have going on with others this week, that I should ensure my schedule was clear for them the whole week to support them, and that I should go rent a truck to haul water to them. I honestly couldn't believe it. I was being professional and friendly, and I'm trying to help out, but after those remarks, I couldn't take it. So I clarified with the two mother Karens about what I was and wasn't going to do. Also, their adult kids were looking ashamed at this point. I said to them, that's not happening, as I don't work for this property management company. I'm a third-party contractor who works on hot tubs. The two entitled Karens then threatened to tell the property management company to cancel my contract if I don't help them. And they implied that as someone delivering water for a business, that I would need the money. I just told them to go ahead. My full-time job is in cloud technology, and this is a side business for me. I literally couldn't care less, and I wasn't going to drive around the clock to do that when they could move to another property. There was some more back and forth that I won't get into. It was a lot of yelling at me saying that I'm ruining their vacation. But I finally told them that they would be stupid to try to stay here, that their experience they wanted to have in this house just wasn't going to happen. I went home and had a couple of beers and enjoyed the rest of my day. Apparently, the next morning, they moved to another house. I also heard the property manager gave them a full refund after they wouldn't stop harassing him, so their trip was free. Yeah, I only wish the property manager didn't refund them because you know exactly what that does, right? It only empowers these people to think that if I yell loudly enough, I will always get my way. It's just funny how some people think that just because they're on vacation, everyone becomes their personal servant. And in this next post, OP stands up against an entitled tourist. Listen to this one. So this happened during my vacation in Spain last week, and I'm still fuming about the audacity of some people. I'm staying at this resort, and every morning, there's the usual scramble for the good beach chairs by the pool, which is fair enough. First come, first served, right? Wrong, according to this one German tourist who's probably in his 60s. This guy had the brilliant idea of putting his towel on the best chair right by the pool at like 6 a.m. and then disappearing for literally 8 hours. I watched this chair sit empty with his crusty towel on it from morning to mid-afternoon, while families with kids were standing around looking for places to sit. At around 2 p.m. though, I had enough. My girlfriend and I had been sitting on these uncomfortable plastic chairs all day, watching this prime real estate go unused. So I moved this guy's towel to the side table and we took the chairs. Cue this entitled idiot showing up around 3 p.m. red as a lobster, which is ironic, absolutely losing his mind that someone dared touch his precious towel. The guy starts yelling at me in broken English how he reserved the chair and I had no right to move his things. I just told him straight up, dude, you can't just dump a towel somewhere at dawn and disappear for like 10 hours. That's not how this works. There's families who want to use these chairs. Hearing that, he gets even more pissed, and the guy starts going off how this is how we do it in Germany, and I'm being very rude to a guest in my country. At this point, I'm done being polite. I look him dead in the eyes, and I said, well, you're not in Germany anymore. And your towel is not an effing reservation system. So go find another chair or talk to hotel management if you have a problem. The guy's face went from sunburnt red to purple as he stormed off muttering in German. He came back 10 minutes later with a hotel staff member and demanded I be trespassed from the premises. The staff member then very politely explained to him that chairs can't be reserved for extended periods and guests need to be actually using them. And let me tell you, the look on his face when the staff member sided with me was priceless. The guy spent the rest of the day just shooting dirty looks at us from across the pool. Some people really think the world revolves around them, like sorry Klaus, your towel isn't a magic force field that holds beach chairs hostage all day. Listen, props to OP for standing up to this guy, but just going through the comments, this is apparently a thing that does happen. But even though it's common, it can obviously be seen as quite inconsiderate, right? And this person comments, Spaniard here. I can confirm that we're completely sick of this kind of behavior. Some tourists think that they own the area just because they've paid a ridiculous amount of money for their filthy vacation. And when they see we're locals, they become monsters. Last year, I bluntly told a Karen to F off with her attitude after she tried to cut me in line to get a coffee. I was so fed up and mad that I started to curse at her in Spanish and she literally F'd off. So this story happened quite a few years ago with me and my friends, but after reading quite a few stories and listening to a lot of stories, I feel that now is a good time as any to share this post. On November 2019, me and a couple of my friends, who I'll call Haley, Rose, and Rachel, were given an opportunity to travel to the Valley of the Kings in Egypt, and I want to note that we are archaeology graduates. While our friends and family were excited and proud of us for being able to go on this trip, Rachel's family did not feel the same way. Rachel's younger sister, who I'll call Lisa, was the golden child of her family. Anything she wanted, her parents gave to her. While Rachel had to take out a student loan to pay for college, Lisa's parents paid for her tuition, only for Lisa to drop out 2 years in. Lisa chose to try to build a career being a model and influencer on Instagram. When Rachel mentioned that she was going to Egypt with us, that our plane tickets and accommodations have been taken care of for the archaeological fieldwork, Lisa got jealous as she felt that a trip like that and taking photos of herself in Egypt for Instagram would help launch her modeling career. That said, their parents demanded that Rachel give her tickets to Lisa, as they felt that Lisa was more deserving of it, to which Rachel obviously said no. It was already paid for by the foundation, specifically for her and our group, who were trained to do this kind of work. According to Rachel, she's had back and forth arguments with her family leading up to the trip, that she eventually just left home and she moved in with her boyfriend. I held onto our plane tickets as we were all to meet up at my dad's place in the morning before going to the airport. At the time, I still lived with my dad. That said, as me, Rachel, Haley, and Rose were at my place, just hanging out getting ready, Lisa and her mom pulled up and they came knocking on my door. Apparently, they were demanding one more time that Rachel give her ticket to Lisa. Lisa even had a couple of bags with her as well. Before I continue, just to give you a better understanding of Lisa and Rachel's family and why they may behave or think this way, Rachel's the only one in her family who's actually finished college. Rachel pretty much took care of herself for much of her childhood, as her parents were too fixated on Lisa. Their parents moved to Los Angeles from Florida to try to become actors, but failed. They moved up here for some reason, and now their dad works as a truck driver and their mom works at a grocery store. Rachel's family treated formal education as a joke, and they didn't really support the idea of anyone going to college until Lisa decided that she wanted to go to college herself, as previously mentioned. Haley then interjected, interrupting them and pointing out again that this was not a vacation. This was an archaeological trip and they were going there to do actual work. Haley then goes on to point out that it's Rachel's name on the plane ticket and accommodations. So she asked Lisa and her mom questions like, how do you think Lisa's gonna get on the plane? Who will Lisa be traveling with in Egypt? And where will Lisa be staying there? Apparently, Lisa and her mom expected the rest of us just to somehow convince customs to let her through and get on the flight, as well as expecting us to look after and accompany Lisa. I should also note that apart from Rachel, nobody in her family has ever traveled on a plane before. Lisa and their mom have never been overseas, and the only international traveling their dad's ever done was driving trucks to and from Mexico. So this is why they don't seem to know how plane tickets or customs works. I then pointed out to Lisa that if she really wants to go to Egypt, she could just buy her own plane tickets to Egypt and book her own accommodation. Lisa, of course, starts crying, and she says she doesn't want to do any of that. She just wanted Rachel's place in our trip, and she wanted all the expenses to be paid for, and for us to accommodate her as she didn't want to travel by herself. Lisa and her mom eventually left, after seeing that trying to argue and force her way into our trip wasn't getting them anywhere. After the dig at the Valley of the Kings, we did get to go and do a lot of touristy stuff, such as touring Cairo and seeing the pyramids of Giza. As for Lisa, while she still does post a lot on Instagram, she seems to have given up on the modeling and influencer career, and she's now just working in a warehouse. So I'm a 43-year-old female, and I'm an anxious flyer, not due to the fear of flying, but the fear of people. So I'm pretty happy with how I'm handling the situation that's happening right now. I'm flying back from vacation in Costa Rica. I paid for extra priority and an exit row seat. The flight was supposedly full, but somehow the middle seat next to me is empty. It's a 4-hour flight, so not having to rub shoulders with a stranger is a welcome surprise. With that all said, I get settled in, my electronics are charging, I have stuff in the seat back, Wi-Fi's connected, and then I order some food and drinks from the flight attendant. Just as I'm starting my snacks and mixed my drink, the guy across the aisle from me, who looks to be in his 50s, asked if the middle seat is empty. I have to take off my headphones, and then I respond, yes it is, and then put my headphones back on. A couple of minutes later, he starts talking at me again, so I remove my headphones again. He then says to me, hey, switch seats with me so my wife in the back of the plane can come up here and sit next to me in that empty middle seat. I say to him, well, I'm all settled in right now and I really don't want to move while eating. But if you wait, he then interrupts me to say it'll be really easy to switch all of our stuff. And I again start to try to say that I'll switch when I'm done eating, but the guy doesn't even listen to me. He starts talking over me saying, unbelievable. So I can't sit next to my wife because you won't do a simple thing like switching one aisle seat for another? You are ridiculous. You're unbelievably rude. I just kept trying to tell him to wait a few minutes, but now he's pissing me off. The guy never asked, never said please. He just immediately starts talking loudly and gesturing to everyone, telling them how unbelievably rude I am. So then, he finally takes a breath and he says, well, how about after you finish eating, then you'll switch? To which I say, as I was telling you, I would be fine switching after I eat, but not after you've been so rude, and now I'm not gonna switch with you at all. Of course, hearing me say that, this makes him rage. He continues to go on and on how I'm so unbelievable, and I'm keeping him from his poor wife that's sitting with strangers. How dare I? And then, he tries to talk to the man next to him, saying how evil I am. And the guy starts leaning across the aisle and glaring right at me from 18 inches away from my face. He's shaking his head and making disappointment noises. At some point, he mumbles under his breath, and I think he called me a bitch, but it was hard to hear as I put my headphones back on and just ignored him. For the next hour, he continued to glare and yell back to his wife that I was preventing them from sitting together. So I just completely ignored him and texted my friends, just laughing and smiling a lot. Seeing me do that just pissed him off even more. But I'm not doing anything wrong or engaging him in any way. We're about an hour from landing at this point, and the guy seems to have given up, and he's just leaning back, not staring at me anymore. At this point, I have a feeling that he's gonna say something when we're disembarking, either to me or the people around us, about how unbelievable and ridiculous I am. My plan at the time was just to half smile and say, okay. And the thing is, if this guy was capable of listening, I would have just told him it's his own fault for not upgrading his wife's seat and getting seats next to each other before the flight. I also want to reiterate that I would have switched, even though I didn't want to, until he became so rude and entitled. But I doubt it would make a difference, so I'm not gonna give any reaction instead. I just hate being in situations like this, but I hate giving in to bullies even more. Props to OP for standing their ground, and honestly, next time this happens, and hopefully it doesn't happen, the best way to defeat a nasty entitled Karen is just to ignore them. Like, after reading so many of these posts, guys, I've learned that nothing enrages a Karen more than a person who's unbothered by them throwing their little tantrum. And buckle up, guys, because this next post is a really long one. OP shares a story about how they're always made the babysitter on family vacations, and they're sick and tired of it. I am a 23-year-old male, and I'm repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on family outings and vacations. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year, we took a family vacation in the summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents and they paid for my hotel room. Only, I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I was stuck playing babysitter. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation, but instead, I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everybody about it, and I was reminded that I was there for free. This year, my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed that I would be riding along the same way as last year, but I refused. I said that I would be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked, and they tried to remind me of the cost. I said, no worries. I've got a job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. And this is when the but started. I stated the previously listed things as why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult, not be treated like a babysitter like last year. My parents told my sister, and she called to blow up at me, that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything on the vacation that I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just enjoy my vacation and do my own thing. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation too. Now, my sister's not speaking to me, and my parents are trying to convince me to ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure's getting to me. So am I the a-hole for not giving in? I know they'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help. Edit. So it's barely been an hour since I posted, but my sister's apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings, and she saw my post. Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset that nobody in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she goes on a big rant how hard it is to be a parent to triplets, and the least I could do is help, because I'm young and single and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute. Update. Well, I'm off work now, so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister gets our parents involved, and they looked at my post, and they were absolutely horrified by the amount of comments. And yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here. But I told them if they had just listened to me to begin with, I would have never needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They in turn went off on my sister, and to make a long story short, the whole vacation's been cancelled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyways, but my parents are arguing with my sister, and my sister's blaming me, and my nephews are crying because they don't get to go to the beach. My sister did call me at lunch, and she basically implied that I have no life, that I'm a loser, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. My parents did say that they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again, and they've agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me that I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister's playing the victim, and my brother-in-law's basically saying nope to the whole mess, and he's spending most of his time at work. What a crazy mess that was, guys, and there is a huge update to this. But I just want to say that obviously OP's not the a-hole for not wanting to always babysit his sister's kiddos, especially when they're on vacation. Like, that's not fun at all, guys. And for her to pass her kids off on OP so she and hubby can enjoy their time, super duper unfair. But the family does end up going on vacation though, and OP does update to say, update. Well, the family vacation is over. Some things both good and bad went as expected. Good, in that my parents didn't enable my sisters trying to make me babysit, and oh yes, did she try. But bad, in that being that my sister did try to find out which room I was in, but that failed and it got her in trouble with her husband. Firstly, I made sure to tell the hotel in advance that they were not to give out any information to anybody who asked except for police. They assured me over the phone that they wouldn't tell a soul. And then, on the day of vacation, I left earlier in the morning than the rest of my family. I knew they wouldn't be able to get moving as a group until at least 10 a.m., so I left at 9 a.m. Check-in wouldn't be till 1 p.m. I just wanted to make sure I had a head start. My parents were upset because they planned a family brunch on the way, but I pointed out I was never made aware of that, so it was cancelled in favor of fast food. Like I planned, I arrived to the hotel early, too early for check-in. But I told the desk staff that I was there to make sure my parents or my sister didn't give them my information, so I'm covering my ass. When they happened to be dealing with my mother, my sister, and 3 potentially crying boys trying to guilt them at the desk, they better not yield. And I wanted to know if they try anything. They awkwardly promised me that nobody but me would get access to my room. And then I decided to go and get something to eat. I came back more than an hour later, and there was my parents' car and my brother-in-law's SUV. I went to the desk to check in after making sure the lobby was clear, and it was. I then asked the clerk if my family asked about me and where I was staying in the hotel, and yes, they did. But the front desk clerk refused to tell them. My sister apparently tried to push it. So I checked in, went to my room, and then called my folks. I didn't mention that I knew what they tried with the clerk, and they conveniently didn't mention it either. Then, we all met up as a family to go and tour around. My sister at one point asked me to watch her kids for a moment so her and her husband can go off to do something, to which I replied, hell no, because I knew exactly what she was doing. She would pretend to be gone for a moment, and then she'd be gone for an hour. I called her out, and her husband told her to stop trying to make me watch the kids. And what did my sister do? She just starts crying on the spot, saying that she needs a break, and she begged me to babysit. Her husband scolded her, saying that he's a tired man, but he wasn't complaining. My mother gave me a nasty look, as if to say, just do it this one time. So I went right to her, and I said, if she tries to even think that I should be watching those kids, that I would walk away from this family vacation right now. I told her it's not my job, and I'm sick and tired of my sister acting like it is. Well, that made my mom start crying too, and then she just starts repeating the words, you're right, over and over again. And this is another old tactic of hers. She tries to look pathetic to guilt me, but I just said, I am right. Let it go, before walking away. Neither my mom or my sister tried anything the rest of the day. When we got back to the hotel after dinner, the family were all crowding the elevator, but I didn't get in with them. They asked why I didn't, and I said I would wait for the next one. My sister then glares at me because she knew exactly what I was doing. I then just sat in the lobby watching YouTube on my phone for 15 minutes, and then took the elevator up. I was on a different floor and on the other end of the hotel. I had a splendid night, and the next morning, we all went out for breakfast. Breakfast went fine, and then I said I was gonna be doing my own thing for the day. My mother tried to bring up plans for the aquarium and a couple of other places, so I said I would meet them for those. But the rest of the day was mine until family dinner. They accepted this, and the day went fine too. Back at the hotel that evening, though, my sister catches me leaving my room. She must have been stalking the whole floor looking for me. I went back to my room to chill for a bit before dinner because I got tired from walking so much, and my sister was down the hall when I left my room to meet them for dinner. She then corners me to say that I ruined the family vacation for her because now it wasn't hardly any different for her than at home since she had to wrangle her own kids. I just called BS because my parents were helping her a lot. I then told her that I'm sick of this song and dance of being her scapegoat and it's already over. So leave me the hell alone and get on with your own life. I then start walking with her yelling at me saying, hey, I'm trying to talk to you. The least you can do for ruining my vacation is to listen to me. I told her I didn't give a crap and I was going to dinner. She followed me to the elevator and we both said nothing to each other. I didn't stay silent. I told my parents and my brother-in-law that my sister had stalked me to find my room. She was scolded like a child. She had a pity party and I told her stop milking it and grow up. The old days where she could force her will on me were over. I then walked out of the lobby into my car. This time, I was the first one to dinner. When everyone else arrived, my sister looked depressed, but not a damn thing was said about what happened before, and that was fine with me. My sister refrained from making eye contact with me the entire evening. And this time, I didn't give a crap about riding in the elevator with the rest of them, and I told them bluntly that unless it's an emergency, no one's to come knocking on my door. I had a do not disturb sign for a reason. The final day, everything went swimmingly. Neither my sister or my mom bothered me at all. They fully surrendered at this point. And yes, during the whole vacation, I did play with my nephews a bit. I'm not a complete jerk. I didn't stonewall them. I just kept up being the fun uncle, just not the babysitter uncle, and the kids didn't even seem to care, they just wanted to play. I even bought each of them one of those baggies of crystals of polished stones to take home as a souvenir. All in all, I'd call the vacation a win, because it finally hit home for my mother and sister that the old way they did things involving me is over, and I have my own life. I think we can all agree good on OP for setting clear boundaries, and hopefully sister does learn that you gotta take care of your own kiddos on vacation. Like, that's the reality of it. That said, it is wild to know that despite OP trying so hard to avoid having to babysit, that OP's sister still stalked him and cornered him to say, "You ruined my vacation for not taking care of my kids." Like, it just seems that OP's sister only views OP as a babysitter because, quote, "You're single, you're a loser, you have nothing better to do than to watch my kids." But hey, that's entitled people for you. But yeah, leave your comments down below. Have you ever been put in OP's position? Have you ever had to watch somebody's kids while on vacation? And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's stories. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing so you don't miss these crazy stories. And if you missed the last episode on the channel, it's an r/malicious compliance episode where OP fights back against the nasty HOA and they win. It's a wild episode, so go check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.